Well, I'm sorry for the location here on my freezer, but I just got back from a match and my other bench is just completely loaded with stuff. But it was an important time for me to show something that really doesn't get talked about, and that's what happens after you shoot in any kind of moisture, whether it's rain, high humidity, anything like that. And that's the fact that water can in fact get between your action and the bedding. Now, I like to think I have a really good bedding job. It was done by a professional. I honestly don't bed my own stuff. I'm just not comfortable doing it. So this stock was bed, and it is a very nice bedding job. But unless you glue a stock in, it's virtually impossible to keep all the moisture out. And I was shooting this last weekend at a match out in Middle Washington, and we just happened to have absolute downpour in the beginning. And I have rain gear that helps protect my gun while I'm shooting, but there is always going to be some amount of moisture or water that does find its way in. And I just wanted to show you, so anytime I come back from a big match, even if there isn't rain, I'm always going to pull my gun apart, and I'm going to make a kind of a check of my bedding area to make sure that nothing weird is in there. But I wanted to show you, and I know it's going to be really hard to see, but there is a little bit of moisture just barely in the channel right here. And I'm going to go ahead and take this, perfectly clean patch, and you can see just that little bit of moisture carried a little bit of dirt with it. There you go. So that is from inside my stock, just from going out and shooting in the rain this weekend. Now you're probably saying, what's the big deal? Does it really matter? Yeah, it really does matter. Now, even for a hunting gun where maybe you're not trying to get a 3-inch group at 1,000 yards, you still want it to be accurate. So what can happen is, if your action is in here and there is moisture, it's ultimately going to collect some dirt like this, and it is going to affect how the action sits in here. And you do want the action to sit as completely flush as possible to the bedding. And I have seen situations where both either for myself or for other competitors where they haven't paid attention to water, which honestly was something I never used to do when I first started, until someone pointed it out to me. And I would shoot in the rain, which I have no issue shooting in the rain, but I wouldn't pay attention to this, and then my groups would start opening up, or I'd start having weird flyers. And it 100% can be attributed in many cases to having excessive moisture under here. Now, is what I had under here enough to make a difference? I don't think so, to be honest, but it does build up over time, and it can cause problems. Now, it rained on Saturday morning. I shot fairly decent over the course of the rest of the day, but I did have progressively worse scores on Saturday, and then on Sunday I shot much better. Now, I did not, I had every intention Saturday night to pull my gun apart, and to be honest, I just forgot. But I have no doubt that the majority of the moisture that was in there had evaporated by the time we shot on Sunday, and my scores on Sunday were considerably better. And I do feel like there are always going to be a couple of points that are attributed to this excessive moisture that was in there. So whatever I just wiped up now is probably nothing compared to what was in there after the rain on Saturday. It was probably, some amount more than this. And I know there's going to be people that comment and say, oh, you're an idiot, this is stupid, this doesn't matter. But I'm just going to tell you, you talk to serious competitors that compete on a national level, and they will all 100% agree that you need to make sure that you keep this dry. Meaning, if there's any kind of moisture out, this thing needs to come apart, and it needs to get wiped out and dried back off. And that also means, my action, which is over in my vise right now, I'm going to be wiping that down as well. And ultimately, you get shrinkage on this bedding material. There's going to be a point where this really should be rebed, and depending on how much moisture is getting in, that's also a good indication of when it should be rebed. So just some things to look at and some things to consider either for a hunting or a competition gun if you have not done that. So just a little tidbit I thought I'd throw in since I just got back from a match, and it's not always opportune to show you. So hope you guys are having a good one. We'll talk later. Have a good one.